All right, guys, back to work tonight, Thursday evening. Friday is right around the corner, and boy, the big moves we saw this afternoon means we got some big opportunity to finish up this third week of January. It's Thursday evening. It's the 20th day of January 2022. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it's great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Friday's trading session. I got a great video in store for you guys and gals. As you can see, charts are all ready. S&P's ready. Nasdaq's ready. Oil is ready. Glad to see you are locked in and ready for me here tonight on this video. Got a lot we're going to cover tonight. As you can see, big moves in the markets. Anytime I see big moves today, that always means there's some exciting opportunities the following day. And so, of course, in this video tonight, we'll talk about all my favorite setups, right, tracking for tomorrow. We'll also talk about some stuff to avoid, right, to kind of keep yourself out of trouble, because with these big moves down, there are definitely some traps. I can easily see some traps hidden on each of these markets, and I want to make sure you avoid those traps, right, to keep yourself in the green this week and help you finish up the week with a bang here. And before we jump into the video tonight, though, I got a lot I want to cover here tonight, a lot of great trades setting up for Friday. Before we jump in, though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish this video every evening during the week with my best trade ideas, so make sure you join our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that little bell icon, because a lot of this stuff is very time sensitive, as you can imagine. And don't forget, if you guys have any questions for me, drop those questions in the comments section. I would love to answer any questions you might have along the way. And if you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoy the video as much as I enjoy making it every evening, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up for me tonight here on the YouTube video. Really appreciate you guys supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro, though. Time is ticking. Friday is not going to trade itself. Let's make sure we're ready for the action. As I mentioned earlier, big moves today. Big bear move, big bear move, big bear move down. Who could have ever seen this? Who could have ever seen this coming? Right? We talked about selling those drops in last night's video. Anytime we see big moves in one day, we always know there's potential for some ranges, for some deep pullbacks, and who knows, maybe some reversals as well. So I definitely have plenty of short setups on my radar for tomorrow, but obviously we got some long trades here we're looking for tomorrow. And that's one of the traps. That's one of the traps we'll have to avoid tomorrow, is trying to pick bottoms here too aggressively. Now, each of these three markets are very similar, but they all have a little bit different, right? Like the measured moves are different, the ranges are different on the oil, so they all have a little bit of a different spin on it. So we're going to go over kind of how they're different, where the best trades are, and we're going to break this all down to small bite-sized pieces so you can beat these markets here on Friday. Now, speaking of Friday, though, let's make sure we take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. There's not a lot on the calendar. There's no real major news on the schedule. There's no Fed speakers that are scheduled here for tomorrow. I would imagine we'll continue to hear more out of Ukraine and Russia. We talked about this earlier this week. Even though this will probably become absolutely nothing at all, the news media and, of course, everyone's trying to whip this thing up here. So we'll see if that has any impact tomorrow. I'll be definitely listening in, right, to see if we hear anything tomorrow on the news wires there. But tomorrow looks like a pretty wide open session. No major news as a catalyst tomorrow. So, will we hear anything out of the Fed? Will we hear any unexpected headlines tomorrow? We'll definitely want to keep our news feeds on tomorrow morning to keep an eye on that. And, don't forget, Fridays are always a bit of a smaller window of opportunity. Early in, early out. I try to find my trades as early as I can on Friday. We do oftentimes see some good moves in the afternoons, but usually they're a little bit less consistent in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. The same reason why you and I want to get out of the office on a Friday afternoon is the same reason why the markets are a little bit less consistent on a Friday afternoon. So if at all possible, we'll get our trades off earlier tomorrow, right, than the other days during the week. But other than that, got a pretty wide open session, right, tomorrow morning on a Friday. Let's take a look at the charts here right now. Back to our charts. S&P, Nasdaq, crude oil, they're all bearish, but they've all got a little bit different stuff going on here. Let's go one by one. Let me grab a look at the S&P here. And let's take a look at where we are here right now on the E-mini. Now, of course, the S&P, probably the most important factor that I can see on this chart right now is just the sheer size of this move. Anytime we see a really big move in one direction, we know the following day we're going to have to either get like a trading range down here to act like a magnet, or we have to anticipate a relatively deep pullback. That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind here when I see the S&P. Big move down. Definitely not in the business of trying to pick a bottom on this. I want to focus on following this overall momentum. But at the same time, though, when you think about it, right, we got that pop up, that reversal, and of course, if you follow the newsletter last night, right, you know how to trade those 1, 2, 3 moves off the high, right? But then, once this thing dropped, everybody's short the high, it really didn't give people very many other opportunities to get in. So you have to think about this down here now. You're like, okay, well, we're probably not going to have a lot of professional sellers down here looking to short down here. We're going to have to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit, right? And get that deep pullback. So big move. I'm anticipating a range at some point tomorrow here, but I really think a deep pullback is going to be what probably the most important aspect of this chart here is for tomorrow. You'll notice we haven't completed what's called the double down, right? The amount we went above, the amount we went lower. The Nasdaq did, and the fact that the Nasdaq completed its double down is a big deal. It's one of the key differences between the S&P and the Nasdaq. We'll talk about why that's important as we go deeper, into this video. Again, I think the most important thing right now is either we want to see either a range, right, and look for sellers to sell above that trading range, up at resistance above the range, or we want to see a really deep pullback. And this would be one of those pullbacks that feels like a reversal, right? So once you start thinking long, that's probably when it's time to start looking for the short, right? Stuff like that for tomorrow. And it's kind of an interesting situation because we may get something, if you think about this channel coming down off that low, off that high, we may get that deep pullback, that failure back down, right? We may get a reversal and then come back, right? So we definitely have a lot of different potential setups here to kind of thread that needle here. So let's talk about some scenarios here tonight. Again, we're sticking to the short side until we really see some proof here for those buyers. I've got my channel drawn right off of these lows, up off that high, got some prior swings. It's a little bit tough to tell exactly how far the market will pull back, but what you want to do is you want to get above this moving average, try to trap in some of these bears, right? Or start some of these bulls and then retest that low. If I'm a buyer right now, the only way I can really buy this, the safest bet to be a buyer right now is to wait for the pop, wait for the retest, and then look for the long off of that low. It's going to be a little bit tricky, right, to get in on the reversal because, again, there's a good chance we have a bigger channel coming down here, right? We may get a reversal, right, and then run right into that big channel here. Again, there's a lot of bears in this market, but they're not going to want to sell low. They're going to want to sell it as it comes pretty good off this low here right now. So on the pullback, right, what you really want to look for here is try to get up above that moving average. Now, when you get up above the moving average, there's going to be a lot of, right, there'll be a lot of buyers trying to run this, right? So just like we saw today, right, where it gets way above the moving average, the buyers try once, the buyers try twice, right, and then we get that drop. That's the same idea we're looking for here. Big move down. Let's get a nice bounce off the low to kind of give these, right, to really give the sellers a chance to put some meat on the bone. Let those buyers try a couple times. You're going to want to use the 2-try rule here, right? 1 try, 2 try. Think about where all those stops are, and we can sell right into those stops from there, right? That's probably what I'm looking. That's probably my most attractive trade here for tomorrow is to get this nice deep pullback, really incentivize the bears. Again, it's difficult to tell how far the pullback will go right now, but like I mentioned earlier, the minute this thing feels like it's about time to buy is probably when you want to start thinking about let's let the buyers try a few times here, right, and then hit them right back at that stop loss. Now, at the same time, if we can get back above the moving average, if these buyers can hold this and jump, we definitely have that first test, right? That first pullback test that is worth taking, right? Even with the reversal, right? 1, 2, 3 reversal, you can still make some money off that first pullback, right? You can still make some money off that first pullback. So I definitely do like that first pullback here, right, off that channel. But just be aware, right? Again, draw that channel down up overhead here, right? We may end up taking some profit off of the trend line and then looking for some re-entries, right, as we go back above that trend line back up. Or we may see that reversal, as you can see here, right? May get that reversal. We may run right into that channel, and then all of a sudden, right, 1, 2, and then back down again, right? A lot like we saw up here, right? We get a small reversal, right? Little scalp off that low. Well, this is a pretty slow time frame, so it's a pretty big move off that low. And then, of course, buyers come in. They try a couple times, right? And we get that nice, juicy, right, 2-try failure back down to retest the low. That is a very, very likely scenario there on the S&P 500. Buyers would love to get back all the way up into that trading range, but what is more likely is that strong bounce, rope in some of those buyers, use that 2-try failure pattern that we teach in our free quick start class. And by the way, if you haven't taken that free course yet, I'll put a link for you guys up in the upper right hand corner. I teach all of these entry setups as part of that free trading course, right? Kind of a quick start course. I have hundreds of examples of the pattern setups off our favorite futures markets. So definitely grab that link in the upper right-hand corner. I'll put a little pop-up there for you so you can grab that free trading course. So again, the key right now is let's get off the low. Let's attract some of these buyers in, right? Get them trying to buy the reversal and sell into those stop losses. If the buyers can hold it, right, quickly grab that first pullback. Watch out for that channel. And then are we buying the pullback off the channel, right? Or are we 1, 2, same thing, 2-try failure, right? Back down to retest that low. If we go sideways here, right? This is very, very likely at some point tomorrow. Anytime we see a big move in one direction, we expect there to be a range the following day. If we see a trading range right now, or sometime overnight, we definitely want to keep our eyes on overhead levels of resistance, right? Keep looking for those, right, overhead areas of resistance, and just simply wait for the pullback. Eventually, these buyers will run out of bullets, if you will, right? Or sellers. Once the sellers run out of bullets down here, the price will pop up. Don't chase that move. Again, that range, don't forget, ranges act like magnets. And so when we find a range down there, all that bearishness, we know that this pop off the low, let those buyers try to buy it and then use those failure patterns we talk about, right, off that high to sell back into that trading range. Again, it's what we call these failure patterns, right? The range acts like a magnet. We get that pop up, trap in those buyers, right, and sell back down into that trading range, right? Now, what if we go lower here, right? What if we go lower here? If the market keeps on cruising lower, and that's very possible. It doesn't seem likely right now, right? But it's possible. If it does keep on kind of grinding down, right? What do we always do in those situations? We draw a steeper channel off that low, right? What I'll do is this will probably be too big of a channel like that. I'll pin it up around these shallow highs, and then we start looking for those traps, right? Those traps, those failures, those pullback combinations, right? Trap set above the high, failure pattern above the moving average, right? And that pullback pattern again, right? I'm just simply kind of illustrating this right now. I have a lot more examples, real examples of how we apply those setups inside that free class I mentioned, right? Linked up in the upper right-hand corner. We have some pretty good support down here, right? So we're going to want to see this market really continue pretty well through these lows here. The next big block of support down there is at 43.57 and a quarter. Again, though, I can't emphasize emphasize enough. The most important thing right now will be to get, even if they keep going lower here, right, get that nice strong bounce off that low, rope in those buyers, the failure pattern, and keep sending it back to retest the low. Now, we talked briefly here about buying it on the reversal, right? That 1, 2, 3 reversal, right? Remember, it doesn't matter how strong that pullback is. They've got to hold that pullback, right? Once they get that 1, 2, 3 move, right? Like we saw back here, right? Once they jump off the moving average, right? That's when you take action. You mark up that high, you mark up that low, and you buy the first pullback. That's a great example of why I always say the first test is the best test. Because you can see as it ran out of gas, that was exactly right. That's second, third test there. Anyways, long story short, you want to get that 1, 2, 3, right? Then find that new channel, drill down to your faster time frame. And again, there'll be some money to make there. It may not be a lot, right? It may not be a lot, but it will definitely be enough to get you your first target, right? These could be traps, these could be failures, big pullback combinations off of that low. Another way to buy this, which I think is probably the more likely way to buy this tomorrow, is to let this thing bounce off the low, right? Get that nice deep bounce, get those buyers roped in, and go back to that retest. That will then close the loop, as we call it, and then we can use a crown reversal. We can look for a 1, a 2, and a trap entry, right, for that reversal. These crown reversals are great. It's going to be a little bit difficult to do that here, right? Doing it now. It's very difficult to pick bottoms in these big bear markets because, again, once they start to go higher, they oftentimes go right back down to retest that low. So the easier way to do this is just, folks in the shorts, go back to retest that low and then look for, use the 2-try rule because, of course, it's so bearish right now. Let those bears try twice, right? Wait for that trap entry. All right, and we'll talk a little bit about some variations of this. There's a couple variations of this we'll talk about in the Nasdaq here, so make sure you keep on watching. But that's where the money's going to be a buyer on this, right? We go up, we come crashing back down. The shorts make their money, right? We then see the bears. They're struggling. They try once, they try twice. We get that trap, right? Crown reversal, and we get that long going higher. Once that happens, right? This range up here becomes a great magnet now. That double bottom has all the rookies buying off it, so it's going to start to push higher here. Now what I can do is, as we go higher, if we can start getting some good momentum going higher here, now you can find that new channel. You can draw that right off the highs, of course, and you can look for now crown reversal right into that first channel test, right? So again, we're buying off that low after the retest, right? And then grabbing that first channel bounce. Maybe it's a trap entry, a failure entry, right off of that low. All right. So again, key takeaways on this: the sheer size of this move says stay patient for a deep pullback. Right when it feels like it's time to get long, it's probably when it's time to look for that failure. Expect a range down here, and then when we get that range, right, look for that short up at resistance above the range. If it keeps on grinding, just keep on waiting for that pop, right? Because we're going to have to really put some meat on the bone there to attract more bears into this market right now. How about some Nasdaq? Nasdaq is very similar, but the Nasdaq has a little bit of a twist to it. Like I said, they're all very similar here, bear markets, but you'll notice though this one's a little bit different. The most important thing about, let's kind of go through it. As you can see here, just like the S&P, it's a very, very strong move down. But one thing you'll notice about this is they actually slid through the measured move into what we call a double down, right? In other words, the amount the market went up, right, is the amount the market went down, literally to the tick, right? These double downs are pretty important when the market just falls out of bed like that, right? Very, very effective way to find a target. But I will tell you though, double downs like this, right, or whatever you want to call these, right, they're not very common. What is a lot more useful is to learn how to use a measured move. Now, we talk about these quite a bit in this newsletter, how the first leg is almost always equal to that third leg, right? Basically, this is a 1-2 big third leg there, right? And so that's basically what it looks like. There's your first leg off the high. There's your huge middle leg, which if you guys follow this newsletter, you know it's very common for that middle leg to be either bigger or smaller than the first one. And then this one now, this is the one that we anticipate is the measuring leg, right? If you've watched this video newsletter this week, we've talked a lot about this. Now, why is this important? Why do I bring this up? Well, if you look closely at it, you can see they actually came back right here. And it's a very small detail, but to me, this is a really, really important detail. If you look closely at it, you can see here, they came back and tried to sell that measured move, right? That means that measured move is correct. And if the measured move's correct, then that makes this a measured move overshoot. Now, measured move overshoots are really, really important because they oftentimes, remember, whenever we have a very strong move down like this, everybody wants to go back and retest that low. But what happens is when you have a measured move, which is a very strong support level in a trending environment like this, that creates an area of support. So what oftentimes happens, and this is the point I'm getting at, what oftentimes happens is you're going to get an attempt to go lower that will bounce and go higher, right? This is a problem. Well, it isn't a problem. It's just it's a very small but very important detail here that's very different than the S&P. The S&P doesn't have this issue right now. It might, right? We might have something like this on the S&P. You know, we've talked about the 4 different types of pullbacks this week, right, on this video newsletter. I'm not going to go over them all right now, but this situation right here makes me think you've got to be anticipating here what we call a two-legged pullback, right? And get underneath that trend line. And I would imagine that's probably where the best short is going to come here. Or we'll get the trading range down here, and that'll put this all to bed, right? If we get a range down here, that will obviously gobble up any rising support. We can still look for that. You know, basically the same thing applies here to the Nasdaq. We're definitely bearish. There's no way I want to buy this market until I either get a reversal, right, or we get that double bottom, or retest, as we say, right, into a crown reversal off of that low. Everything else, I want to try to whet the appetite of the sellers. And to do that, I'm going to need to get something pretty well off of this low, right? So right when it starts to feel like reversing, that's probably going to be the time tomorrow when you want to start thinking about the short side, right? So bears want to get up off that low and bring it back down. Bulls would love to go back into that trading range, but we'll see, right? We'll see. We'll see how if they can get this thing up off the low here to begin with. So how do we trade it? How do we buy it? How do we sell it? Again, I would definitely be watching out for a two-legged pullback, right? As they go lower, right? Try to take it higher. Again, oftentimes when you see these measured move overshoots, that's what develops. And so you want to draw that trend line. And then remember, your goal on this is to get underneath and use that trend line, right, for your two-legged pullback entry, right? And that's a perfect spot for it too, because it's going to be just high enough to make it think, again, like I said, right when you think this market's reversing is probably when you're going to see most of the bears, right, coming in to this market, right? We've also got this, like in the S&P, possible big channel there, but it's going to probably be a reversal by the time we get to that big channel, right? And we'll talk about that here in a second. So keep an eye on that two-legged pullback. And also to remember too, sometimes these two-legged pullbacks, sometimes they'll do this. Sometimes they'll go like this. Right, you'll get that trend line up the low here. You'll get it'll go like this. It'll try to go, but it won't exactly. You won't get the entry that you want. If that happens, right, where they try to go up like that, just wait patiently. You'll almost always get the trap entry, right? What you want to avoid is you don't want to sell it as it's going lower. Right, I know it's very counterintuitive. Welcome to day trading. If it makes sense, if your instincts like it, it's probably the wrong way to do it. So what's going to happen is when this market starts to go lower, you're going to go, shoot, I'm missing it. You don't want to chase after it, right? Because oftentimes that guy right there will act as a support level. So the key is you either want to go underneath and hit it off that trend line, right? Or you want to, or again, right, you want to wait for that trap entry because as we talked about quite quite a bit on this video so far this week. Traps are always my favorite when we're trying to avoid selling too low, right? So that's going to be one thing I'll be looking for here tomorrow, right? And then of course, if we get back above the trend line, right, get back above it, if the buyers can hold this pullback and jump off the moving average, right? Again, these are pretty easy to see, right? Once we get that 1, 2, 3 go, then all we do is mark up that channel and then grab that first pullback. Right. Now I said earlier, right, it may not go forever because you got this bigger channel coming up. But I would imagine though, if you get that reversal, right, grab that failure pattern, grab that trap pattern, grab that pullback combination pattern off that low, right? Who knows? Maybe it will go, right? Maybe it will rip all the way back higher here. Doesn't seem likely, right? Seems like we're going to probably see, right, some sort of channel up there, right, that may again turn into, right, a long off that low, but then buyers once, buyers twice, 2 try failure, right? And then back down again. Now here's a scenario you might see, right? Here's a very likely situation, right? Get rid of this smaller channel. Let's say for example, we do get that pop up off the low. Let's say the buyers do hold this pullback and make that run, right? We find our channel, we grab that first test is the best test, right? Off of that low. And again, remember, this is a 4,000 tick chart. We're not trading a 4,000 tick chart, right? We're going to drill down to our faster time frame and we're going to find those entry setups that I teach inside that quick start class, right? So you'll learn more there, right? So we get the entry off the low. We run right into this buzzsaw. Okay, again, if we get above it, I can use it now, right, as a level of support, right? I can buy that breakout pullback. What I also want to think about too is now let's get underneath this swing here. Let's get these buyers trying a couple times. Think about now the buyers are trying to run right into that trend line now. Big move down. So again, anytime you see a big move in one direction, it's almost a guarantee we retest that low at some point, right? Even if you get these big pullbacks like this, we saw today, right? It's almost a guarantee we're going to get back to that low. So we know they're still trying to get down there. Once those buyers try a couple times, now all their stops are sitting right below that low. Buyers try once, buyers try twice. We get that nice juicy signal candle, right? Get that short off the high. And then remember, don't just kick your feet up on the desk and bask in all your glory, right? Find that new channel. And of course, you want to sell it as it's going higher. So you find that trap, right? You find that trap and you hit it right there, right? So again, this could easily be some of the action we see tomorrow, right, in the trade room. You get the 1-2 reversal, buying off that low, right? And then, of course, that 1-2 short off the high, right? And then into that new channel on the way back down to retest the low, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If you're with me on this, hit that like button for me. Do me a favor while you're down there. Make sure you subscribe, right, to our YouTube channel. So we got a pretty good idea of how this thing may work here for the buyers and the sellers. Like I mentioned on the S&P, if we do end up going sideways, that really makes our job pretty easy. We just got to wait for the pop up, wait for these buyers to try to buy that pullback. Again, right when it feels like it's time to buy, it's probably going to be the time to look for that, what we call a buyer failure pattern, right, to short this thing back down again. If we continue going lower, we get a big zone down here at 87, right, to 68 and a quarter. What you're going to want to see is us get through this 650 area, 647 area. If we do keep grinding lower here, right, that'll be your sign to go out, find that steeper channel. Still wait though, right? We're still waiting for that pop up off that low. It may take some time to get the pop up, right? And that will be worth your time. Get that failure into that pullback combination as we go, right? We trapping those buyers above the moving average, right? We then look for that, right? Look for that pullback combo as we go back to retest the low. That's going to be another option here for us as we go here. As a buyer, we talk about the reversal setup. We talk about the crown reversal. Same thing here. Same thing here on the Nasdaq. We go up, we retest that low, right? Now where we go up, buyers get roped in. We sell it back down again. And now the bears come in, they try once, they try twice. We've already retested the low now, so now the bears are fat and happy. Now it's time to catch some of those rookie sellers trying to short into that low here. 1, 2. Again, you want to use the 2-try rule on this because it's so bearish, right? That's why we're not trying to pick that bottom, right? We find that trap off the low, right? That trap can then turn into that big run higher. We can then find that new channel. And again, the first test is always the best test, right? Which with really what any of the entry patterns that we talk about in that free course I mentioned earlier, right? So a crown reversal long off the low, again, after a retest will always make the odds a whole lot better for you rather than trying to pick a bottom on this. Right? Difficult to pick a bottom, these big runaway moves there, right? That's how I'm looking to buy this thing if it bounces off of that low. And again, keep your eyes out for a range, right? Because ranges are really common after a big move like we saw today. Let's keep going, right? Let's keep going, right? The idea is pretty simple here on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Either a deep pullback to trap in the bulls, or let's see a range, right? And we can sell above the high of the range. Over on the oil, now at first glance, you're like, all right, so oil's a pretty easy one. It's a big bear market right now. Let's just sell this thing on the pullback. Not so fast. This is definitely another one of those little traps that I want you to avoid here for tomorrow, right? We got that measured move overshoot on the Nasdaq. We've got that, expecting that really deep pullback on the S&P. This is a very common situation where we'll have a big move in the afternoon, but look closely and you can see where we are, right? We're right at major support levels below what really is just a big range. They're a little bit different. The range is a little bit different today than it was yesterday. But in all reality, there's a big range right above there. Ranges act like magnets. That's the most important factor. The most important factor right now is, don't get me wrong, we are very, very bearish right now. There's no doubt about that. But as far as being a seller down here, I'm going to want to see a little bit more proof on this. I have a saying in my trade room, a broken pendulum is a broken range. And so we've got the pendulum swing right there, right? The amount of the move above the range. Ranges, of course, are balanced magnets. The amount we go above the range, right, comes crashing back down, and we assume there's a whole lot of support right there at that 84-ish. At the same time, we've also got this triangle low down here, and you can see how well, right, this triangle rotation has been working so far. So it's just there's no doubt about the bears in the market right now. There's no doubt about that. The question I have though right now is do I want to try to sell into these lows? And the answer is definitely not yet, right? Definitely not yet. So let's talk about how to buy it, how to sell it, kind of what to expect here. Really the key right now is it's a range. So we can be a lot more aggressive, right, on the reversal, unlike the Nasdaq and the S&P, which is a trend, right? You don't want to get in the habit of picking a bottom, right, on a big trend like that. On a range, you can definitely be a little more aggressive. So, to be a buyer right now, I would think either we get the 1, the 2 back up, right? I would think one scenario would be we use the 2-try failure pattern, right? The 1, the 2 to buy it back up. We then find that new channel and trade the rotation, right? Because the amount we go below the range will probably be the amount we go above the range, right? So I can buy into those 2-try failures, right? First test is the best test off of that low. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it would be, I had that channel on here earlier, so maybe they come up, maybe the bears, right? Maybe they hold on tight, they retest that low, which would not surprise me. It shouldn't surprise you either, because anytime you see a really strong move in one direction, the odds are pretty good they're going to retest that low, right? So maybe they do. They go up, they retest the low, they take out that low, and then we get there. Then we get the bears once, the bears twice, right? We're buying into stop losses, and then we find that new channel, and go higher from there. I could definitely see that coming in. I could definitely see that being the part, right, here tomorrow as well. Right. So, and again, I'm not really interested right now in selling that pullback. It's just not a very reliable trade. You're more than welcome to give that a shot. But in my experience, when there's a range above you and you're inside of these support zones, It's just it's risky business, right? It's definitely not going to be the most reliable. But if we do go higher, right, and of course they retest that low, then start roping in those bears, let them try twice. All their stops are sitting right above the high. You're at support below the trading range, right? I love that trade, right? So a 2-try failure, and then again, draw that channel, right? And then grab that first pullback, right? And again, I say pullback, right? It's probably not going to be a pullback entry on a faster time frame. This is a 2,000 tick chart. We're going to drill down to a much faster time frame, and most of the time, these will be trap entries or failure entries, then into pullback entries. You'll see a lot of examples of that in that free trading course, right? So that's going to be the good stuff, right? To buy off of, right? To buy off that low. One thing that you want to kind of think about too is if the market, let's say the market was just a V bottom, right? Makes a run back up and goes like that, right? At that point, remember you want to look for the 2-try rule, right? We'll try and look for the 2-try rule. At that point, you know that trap right there, right? That's your money trap, right? So again, it'll either be a 1-2 and then back up, buying nice and low off that low, or it'll be an up over retest 1-2, right? Find that channel and go, right? Or sometimes it just kind of turns, right, and goes. And if it turns and goes, let them try once, go higher, right? Draw that channel nice and tight off that low. And what I was going to do is sort of get that trap, right? Get that trap. Now, it may be something like this where, it kind of grinds like that, right? So it may not be the perfect trap spot for it, but find that as long as those bears come in, try once, try twice, draw that channel, and then you just wait patiently for that first test. Right? That's where the money is right there. Right? That's the money trap right there. Everybody wants that entry, right? It's difficult to pick a bottom on it. So once it starts to turn, right? Once it starts to turn there, again, bears try once, bears try twice. Remember, we don't want to sell it as it's going higher. We don't want to buy it as it's going higher, right? We want to buy low, and that's why you wait for that trap, right? And again, I say trap. Could be a trap. Could be a failure below the moving average. We'll know more tomorrow, once we get there. All right. So that's going to be some options for the buy side here as we go. The sell side, right? How would I sell this market right now? Not easy. Not easy. There's a lot of stuff down here. You got Friday's close down there. So, I'll tell you, there's a big range down at 82. That's going to probably be the next big objective right here for these bears. So really at this point, we're going to want to see either A, we're going to want to see it hold this pullback and jump, right? Like really jump off that moving average, right? These are called 1, 2, 3 breakout patterns. Again, mark up that new channel off that low. Find that high, drill down to your faster time frame. You'll learn how to do that inside that quick start class, right? And hit the first test. That's one way to do it. Remember, this push lower has to be very, very strong. You got to get some good separation off the moving average. What is also likely, we talked about this earlier on the S&P and the Nasdaq, is to get this thing to kind of dribble lower, kind of grind lower. These are some of the easiest ones because that really confirms the buyers are walking away. It's the only reason why price will move like that, right? Is the buyers are they've exited their positions, right? And the market just simply drags and runs lower. In that situation, don't go for the big channel. Really tighten this thing down now. Wait for that. Again, I like to look for little prior swings. Get above those prior swings. The key is get above the moving average. Trap in those buyers, right? Either with that, like either with a literal trap set up or with a failure pattern, right, into pullback, right, into pullback combination. Where would the target be? Where would the target be on that short? The target on that short is probably going to be it'll be this leg, right? However big this next leg is, right? So this thing pulls back right now, right, and starts to roll like that. It'll be the size of that leg right there. I'm not really sure where that, what that leg will look like yet. Again, it may be a 1-2 go, right, like that. That's the breakout leg now, right? That's the breakout leg. And so that leg is the size, right? That's your measuring leg. We know where the market wants to go, right? It wants to get down to that 82 and a quarter, that next range down there, but again, if we do see it hold that pullback, right? And jump like that, right? That'll be your breakout leg, right? And of course, the size of that breakout leg will be the measuring leg. So that leg to push down from there. All right, we'll know more tomorrow, obviously, once we see the size of those legs, but that'll give you an idea of kind of what it takes here, because even, we may end up finishing off the pendulum swing, right? We may end up kind of grinding down, finish off that pendulum swing, and then 1, 2 back up, right? Or up, back down, right? And then we get those reversals up off the low. Guys, I've covered a lot in this video so far. Don't forget, I cover all the specific details, all the entry setups, how we find them, which ones to avoid. I cover all those details in that free quick start class. And don't forget, guys, we're going to be together every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time in our trade room. I would love to have you there trading right along with us every morning. What I'll do is I'll put a link for you guys right below the video tonight on our blog, on the website, or if you're on YouTube right now, check the description. I'll put all the important links in the description of this YouTube video. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around tonight. I know a little bit late on the video upload here for this evening. It was a busy day, as you can imagine, in our office, in our trade room. Hope you guys enjoyed the video tonight. I hope you subscribe to it. Make sure you hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the trade room, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Or if not, I'll see you guys back here next week, and we'll do our final full week of the month of January, and we'll be back on Monday evening for the next edition of our nightly newsletter. Guys, that's it for me tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.